President Trump takes a hardline stance on member contributions to the NATO budget amid mounting disagreements over the alliance's mandate going forward. One America's Christian Rose has more.
Do you see the video of Prime Minister Trudeau talking about you last night?
Well, he's two-faced.
Internal tensions mark the second day of the NATO summit in London Wednesday, after a series of incidents highlighted years-old disagreements between key allies. One of the most prominent controversies involves a videotape allegedly showing Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau gossiping and attempting to ridicule President Trump. In response, the president criticized Trudeau over Canada's insufficient contributions to the NATO budget.
He's not paying 2%, and he should be paying 2%. It's Canada, they have money, and they should be paying 2%. So I called him out on that, and I'm sure he wasn't happy about it, but that's the way it is.
Indeed, over the past 5 years, Canada contributed less than 1.5% of its GDP to the NATO budget, which is below the alliance's 2% guidelines. Only 9 out of 28 member states paid 2% or more over the same period. And President Trump appears to have made contributions to the NATO budget the central issue during his visit to London, even hosting a lunch exclusively for leaders whose countries meet NATO's spending requirements.
I just want to thank these great countries, and they are great. They've become friends of mine in many cases, and they're very respected within their own countries. But these are countries that have met the goal of 2%.
These countries include the UK, Greece and 6 former members of the Eastern Bloc, such as Poland. And British Prime Minister Boris Johnson is expressing support for President Trump's push to boost payments to NATO by its other 19 members. Speaking at a campaign event the same day, Boris said his warm relationship with President Trump paves the way to better and stronger British-American ties. And he says disagreements within NATO are part of a normal working relationship.
What happened at this summit was that Justin Trudeau, President Macron, everybody around the table agreed that NATO was absolutely invaluable.
For his part, French President Emmanuel Macron, who famously referred to NATO as brain dead last month, reiterated his calls for member states to clarify their view of NATO going forward. He says NATO was created to ensure peace in Europe after the Second World War and must focus on its original mandate. Macron criticized the attempt to get NATO involved in military conflicts outside Europe.
We've been doing this for 2 years, working to re-establish the structure of European defense, and we must take it up within NATO. Would everyone around the table call Russia an enemy? I don't think so.
And while President Trump and Britain's Johnson are calling for unconditional increases to NATO spending by other countries, Macron says NATO funds must be spent with greater efficiency, transparency and accountability. That does not include wars and military operations overseas, such as Turkey's incursion in Syria.
I said it yesterday during the exchange we had with President Trump. We must precisely draw the consequences of this wish.
Following the discussions, President Trump cancelled his final news conference in London and flew back to Washington, leaving a sense of uncertainty among his NATO peers.
That was funny when I said the guy's too fast, you know, they're going.
Christian Rose, One American News.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One American News on YouTube. And call your cable provider and kindly demand that One American News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.